personal Jesus. Someone to call you, hear your prayers. Someone who cares. Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel, tap the notification bell, and like this video. That helps me to keep making videos. I'd appreciate it majorly. So I'm doing this very quickly. I'm just making a point about this is about Jeffery Epstein. That's the main story, and in my personal view of things, okay, if you follow my channel, you know that I have this theory that Trump and Hillary basically fixed the 2016 election, and that she lost it on purpose. Okay, that's my theory. I'm not going over the entire thing. It's in a playlist if you want to go back to. And they're not. These things have changed over time. I couldn't figure out how he got her to do that. Okay, this I think is how. I think this is how he managed to basically blackmail her into losing on purpose. It's just a theory, okay? But it just cracks me up that the people that are all coming forward about this, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who I just saw on CNN, okay, and her talking about that, and then it's just too much, dude. Okay, and I know she's a congresswoman from Florida. She represents a district that's very I don't know what the Southern District of Florida, which is where the sweetheart slap on the wrist plea deal that was overseen by Alexander Acosta happened back in 2007. This is her district in which is basically near Miami, and it was in Miami. That's where that prosecutor for the Southern District of New York of Florida is based, as I understand it. But her district is right there. You're telling me somebody who was the head of the DNC that's extremely close to the Clintons, that through WikiLeaks was seen to be basically rigging the primary process, even though that's for the Clintons. She's extremely close to Clinton. You tell me she wasn't aware of the 2007 sweetheart deal, even though her district is right there, and she's been a congresswoman since 2005 in that district. But she's coming on television pretending like oblivious to it and calling for him to be fired and Trump to fire her. And this is all CYA, dude. So she's on TV. Then in that same segment, they're going over his confirmation hearing. And it's absolutely shocking to me that the one congressman the one senator, and to the best of my knowledge, he's the only one who brought this up during his confirmation hearing. But I haven't seen the entire confirmation hearing. It's like 2.5 hours or 3 hours long. But that's the one they pulled out, was Tim Kaine actually questioning him about. This is all CYA. Tim Kaine is Hillary Clinton's VP nomination, VP pick, okay, was her running mate in Virginia. And I've gone over Virginia and Virginia politics, But of all the senators that could bring that up, he's the only one who manages to bring that up, Hillary Clinton's VP running mate in the 2016 election. You're telling me, I wonder how many people are starting to see that maybe there's something to what I'm saying. Okay, I'm telling you, man. I believe it. It's my theory. It's just allegedly and all that. But let's just check it out. I haven't even watched it all. I don't need to watch it. It's just the fact that all the people on the committee, asking him questions, the one person to bring this up and ask him about, because he's worried, he's trying to cover his fanny, is Tim Kaine. Hilarious.
If you are confirmed,
that's not the one.
Capturing that information, I think that's a.
She doesn't ask him about it,
and one that I will follow.
She wasn't in on it.
Thank you. I have some other questions. I'll submit them. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Enzi. Senator Kaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks, Dean Acosta. I appreciated our visit in your office and appreciate your public service. I think the committee needs to ask about, and I think you're entitled to respond to an article that appeared in the Washington Post online version last night and this morning. And I'm just going to read the.
Let me stop there. I don't know if the labor secretary meets with all the senators in their offices beforehand. I suspect not, being that it's just not that high profile of a nomination, But maybe. But they met beforehand. I mean, maybe so. Maybe. I don't know.
The opening to it, I'm going to ask you some questions because I think you deserve an opportunity to address it. Labor nominee Acosta cut deal with billionaire guilty in sex abuse case. Just first 3 paragraphs, and then I'll introduce the article into the record. There was once a time before the investigations, before the sexual abuse conviction, when rich and famous men loved to hang around with Jeffery Epstein, a billionaire money manager who loved to party. They visited his mansion in Palm Beach, Florida. They flew on his jet to join him at his private estate on the Caribbean island of Little St. James. They even joked about his taste in younger women. President Trump called Epstein a terrific guy back in 2002, saying that, quote, he's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side, close quote. Now, Trump is on the witness list in a Florida court battle over how federal prosecutors handled allegations that Epstein, 64, sexually abused more than 40 minor girls, most of whom between the ages of 13 and 17. The lawsuit questions why Trump's nominee for labor secretary, former Miami U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, whose confirmation hearing is scheduled to begin Wednesday, cut a non-prosecution deal with Epstein a decade ago rather than pursuing a federal indictment that Acosta's staff had advocated. And I'd like to introduce the article for the record, Mr. Chair.
It will be introduced.
I'd like to ask you about this. And first, a couple of questions. My understanding is that there is a pending civil lawsuit filed by a couple of the victims in that case, seeking to argue that they should have been given notice prior to the plea deal being entered into. Is that your understanding as well?
My understanding is that there is a pending civil lawsuit. The Department of Justice has defended the actions of the office in that matter under both President Bush and President Obama's administrations.
The opening that I read suggests that you decided as U.S. Attorney to cut a non-prosecution deal. That part of the decision was that non-prosecution deal be held private, not appear in the public record. And there's an allegation that I just read that you did not pursue a federal indictment, even though your staff had advocated that you do so. Is that accurate?
That is not accurate. Let me address the one of the difficulties with matters before the Department of Justice is that the Department of Justice does not litigate in the public record or in the media, and litigates in court. Let me set forth some facts. This matter was originally a state case. It was presented by the state attorney to the grand jury in Palm Beach County. The grand jury in Palm Beach County recommended a single count of solicitation not involving minors, I believe, and that would have resulted in 0 jail time, 0 registration as a sexual offender, and 0 restitution for the victims in this case. The matter was then presented to the U.S. Attorney's Office. It is highly unusual, and as I was speaking to some of your colleagues that have been involved in prosecutions, they mentioned that they don't know of any cases personally where a U.S. attorney becomes involved in a matter after it has already gone to a grand jury at the state level. In this case, we deemed it necessary to become involved, and we early on had discussions within the office, and we decided that that a sentence, or how should I put this, that Mr. Epstein should plead guilty to 2 years, register as a sex offender, and concede liability so the victims could get restitution. And if that were done, the federal interest would be satisfied and we would defer to the state. That was very early on in the case. I say that because the article goes on to talk about a view that the U.S. Attorney's Office was not aggressive in this matter.
Can I read one other statement from the article? Federal prosecutors detailed their findings in an 82-page prosecution memo and a 53-page indictment, but Epstein was never indicted. And then there's a quote, "This agreement, the agreement you described, will not be made part of any public record," the deal between Epstein and Acosta says. No. The document was unsealed as part of the civil suit in 2015.
I'm going to give you the senator time to ask his question and the nominee time to answer the question, even though it goes over the 5 minutes.
Thank you.
So, Senator, again, to address your question, and I can't discuss the details of the case, but let me take it generally. It is pretty typical in prosecutions for an indictment, a draft indictment, to be written. That doesn't necessarily mean that that draft indictment is filed, because that draft indictment does not consider often the strength of the underlying case. And so, as part of any plea, it is not unusual to have an indictment that says these are all the places we can go. Yet at the end of the day, based on the evidence, professionals within a prosecutor's office decide that a plea that guarantees that someone goes to jail, that guarantees that someone register generally, and that guarantees other outcomes is a good thing. And so,
was that a consensus decision in your office?
It was a broadly held decision. Yes.
I'm over my time, Mr. Chair, and I may come back to this in a second round. Thank you.
Okay. Do you feel like you've had time to sufficiently answer?
Oh, please, yeah, please.
Mr. Chairman, I think I have.
All right, so that's the whole thing. I played the entire questioning. Again, I just can't emphasize enough that of all the senators that question him, the one that brings it up is Hillary Clinton's running mate, a senator from Virginia, not from Florida, brings that up. During the midterms, there was only one state that Hillary Clinton visited to help in the midterm elections for Democrats. There's only one state, and that state was Florida. And that's the story there, man. That is the story. And they lost, by the way. For Governor Gillum, Andrew Gillum, is that his name? I forget. The guy was running, who was leading in the polls, just like the presidential election, by like 6 points. Maybe it closed to like 4 by the day of the election. And mysteriously, Ron DeSantis pulled off a victory out of nowhere. Florida. All right, that's the story there, man. I was looking to see. I'm sorry. I was looking to see if Tim Kaine voted for or against him in his confirmation. He voted against him. Again, he voted nay. Tim Kaine did. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I'll see you in the next video. Later, man.